We are here doing a discussion video about modern dating. This is a very interesting thing. These are our guests.
Trinity.
Sarah.
Preston.
We invited them on because I feel like naturally just the general population really wants to like let it be known how the modern dating world is very complex and there's a lot of rules, and we'll get into all of that. But let's start off with the first question. Yeah, do you guys think marriage is dead?
I feel like it has a lot to do with like how you were raised, you know?
Yeah.
Like personally, like marriage is an important thing to me, but nowadays like people would rather like save the money and not do it, or just kind of like, oh, they're not into labels or that sort of thing. But like for me it's like, I don't know, why wouldn't you want to make that official with your person kind of thing, you know? But then I think people are also scared of marriage, like commitment issues nowadays, just because of like, I don't know, being held back. Like they think that relationships change once you're married, but it shouldn't be that way. Like you should just be living life the way you were beforehand, you know?
Yeah, no, I agree. I'm not gonna sit here and act like I haven't questioned marriage and what, like, I've questioned like what is the point of marriage. And I know that sounds bad, but like I think because like of everything that's going on, like we literally live in a generation that is filled with people that have so much trust issues. Nobody wants to date each other.
Yeah.
Like if we're being honest, like no, like when you're scrolling down your social media, like isn't that what you're seeing? Or like these fake like Instagram couples that you know are not gonna last. But in saying that, I do think marriage is a beautiful thing, especially if you're like marrying your best friend. Like that's why I'm saying like having that friendship as the foundation makes such a huge difference, because if you don't have your friendship as a foundation, what are you falling back on when you guys are getting into it?
Yeah, for real.
You know what I mean?
I feel like marriage just shows like who that person you're getting married to, like who they really are.
Yeah.
Because like once you get that, like once you get married and have that agreement, it's a totally different type of thing. Like it's a different ball game. As like I've seen it firsthand. It's like you don't see like how they would treat you before to get you. They would stop because they have you in that.
And that's what will mess up the marriage.
Yeah.
That will mess up the marriage still.
I don't understand like with marriage. I really just don't understand like what people would like. They don't understand like the damage it does to the family too. Like the divorce rate now is just so high up. It's actually just destroying families.
But I feel like on the marriage tip, I feel like the reason why people are splitting up more is because eventually, like marriage at its core, fam, over time, if you're around someone for 30 years, you're gonna get bored of them. Like that's probably gonna happen. You're around the same person, you wake up seeing them for 30 years. You're probably like even a friend, that could be your closest friend. I don't want to see my closest friend for 30 years. I promise I don't every day. I don't. So if that happens constantly, it kind of sets it up to fail. And I feel like the reason why marriage was working before is because that was like the standard. You feel me? Like you go on TV, you're watching a married couple, 2 kids. You dig? Like the husband's watching TV. Like that was kind of the norm. Really, because it's not like that now, and it's more on like a balanced tip where both the male and female are working. The kids are off doing something. You don't really need. I feel like families needed marriage because only one was working. Now that they're both, you don't. Everyone's more independent, so you can do your own thing. So I feel like marriage doesn't work for the mindset that people have right now. What do you guys think? What do you guys think about? I
feel like what you said about like the 30 years, like I feel like if the love is strong, like you're not gonna it's not gonna go anywhere.
Yeah, but I feel like when you be able to preserve that love, fam, if you don't see each other all the time, like
it's not even about seeing them. It's more like how you guys show each other love. Like
what traits do you guys like from the older ways, and then what traits do you like from right now? What did they do well?
I feel like the egos weren't as big back then either.
For real. Yeah.
Most definitely.
Like egos play a big part of relationships nowadays.
Yeah.
Like, that can make it or break it.
For
Usually
real.
It just breaks it.
I feel like the entitlement, like you really were grateful for what you had back then.
Yeah.
You weren't like, you're only doing that kind of thing. Like that's it kind of thing.
And like people are always saying how like romance is dead, but it's just because like there's these expectations and it's like the effort isn't there, so now like what do we look to for standards kind of thing, you know?
And I feel like people aren't open to growing as individuals.
Yeah.
And people don't know how to grow as individuals while being in a relationship. And I can personally say, like, I've struggled with that. But, you know, if you can learn and be open to that and being open to, like, real communication and comprehension, because communication is key, but if that person's not understanding what you're saying...
You're going to be talking to
exactly.
Yeah.
But I feel like that's very tough to get, feel me, to be in a relationship and still grow at the same time. I feel like, like I'm talking about relationship in terms of like marriage, like the highest level. I feel like that kind of limits how much growth you can do, because at the end of the day, you gotta grow and kind of pull them along too. Because if you grow past them, you're not gonna want to be around them. You feel me? Like if you get advanced enough where you're thinking on another level and they're still thinking on level 1, you're not gonna want to be around them.
One thing I think the reason why we're also having a very like big discrepancy is because now women have, for example, been brought into the same like level as men. The like how women date is like up. Like men will it's okay if a man's making like 100K in a year and his wife is making like 30. Like it'll work. Like they can make a marriage work like that.
Yeah.
But now, for example, women are wanting to earn more, so that's okay. But it's like the average man is not earning more than you. Like you're earning the same as the average man. So the idea of like having someone provide for you is not gonna work out.
So you think it throws off the balance of the dynamic kind of thing?
To an extent, yeah, I think it throws off the because like now because since women always have wanted like men that are better than them, in a sense, you know what I mean? But like now that there's like just the average population is like you can only get so much better, you know what I mean? Like you can only get so much better. There's an actual limit. I think men also what men want back then now during versus the times. I think men's wants and needs haven't really changed much.
I mean, okay. So what are they?
Men just want to feel like they are for example, the leader of the house. They want to be like the main provider. They want to be whatever it is.
Yeah.
I guess some people it's the captain of the ship, whatever the case may be. But I think men want to lead. But now that women are on the same level, it's like, what are we gonna like? I can't lead. There's nothing to lead. You know what I mean? Like how am I supposed to take hold?
Do you mean that like financially? Because I think there's more ways of providing in a relationship than just financially.
Yeah.
No, I 100% agree. But then if we like even go back to social media, what is pushed on social media is that women want men who make more than them. So it's like that's not a reality. That's not reality. The world that we live in right now, it's not. There's no space for that. Because the average woman, like I said, makes almost as much as any man.
Okay, you know but boom, doesn't that challenge the guy to be better than if she's coming up, if she's elevating,
but
and
also,
he wants to maintain that? You feel me? You gotta go
also
hard too.
even with humans in general, the quality of life is up. So like there's not as much of a need, for example, as for men to go out there and like slave at work, because it's like there's not as much buildings that need to be built. There's not as much businesses that need to be run, because everyone's also doing things like, for example, by themselves. So I think the shift in power in terms of households, I think that's what's making everything just way more complicated in terms of like actual like long run, like in the long run. Like when women nowadays find a man to lock onto, it's not gonna, the house dynamic is not gonna be the same as it was back then. It can't be. But like we haven't figured exactly how that's gonna work yet.
That's a good point. I feel like the dynamic on why I feel like it all ties into like marriage too, because that's the most like household kind of thing. I feel like the dynamic was way more clear back then, so it kind of ran smoothly because everyone fell into their role. Now that it's more like buried, it's gonna be like a lot of like butting heads for you to establish that role, and I feel like that's why a lot of like the divorce rate and everything, because there's no clear role.
Yeah.
So do you guys feel like there should be a clear role? Like you're the man, you do this, you're the female, you do this, or do you want it buried, but then that's gonna risk the chance of more friction?
For me personally, like I want it to be like both ways. Like we can both work, we can both clean, we can both cook. Like why is there like the female has to do it or the male has to do it?
I feel like you guys are overcomplicating it though. I feel like if both of people in a relationship want to like have it even, like you just the communication should be there.
Yeah. You can make it work.
Like the communication just needs to be there for it to happen. Like if my wife is at work, she could easily mention you, I'm gonna be late, can you cook, or vice versa. Like it's not that complicated.
Okay. It's not complicated. I fear you're saying, but it's not easy. Like that communication.
That's not easy, but like that's
it's not like it's impossible to do.
It's definitely not impossible. But not a lot of people know how to communicate. Feel me? Especially not communicate on the same level. Like you may think you're being clear, they may not understand what you're saying. So then that's gonna happen either way.
And I feel like that should be something that is like enforced before going into marriage. Like if you can't communicate, you should not be getting married.
It's not gonna work.
Facts. That's what I think.
No, I was gonna say like I feel like society's standards kind of contradict like the direction we're moving in. Like we're trying to get away from like, oh, the man goes out and works and the woman stays home, but then girls are always like, oh, I want my man to take care of me, but I'm also chasing my bag by myself. So it's like, where is the line? Like, I understand you want to be taken care of, and like guys want to be taken care of too. Like they want to come home, like be spoiled, right? Sure. But it's like that reaching that common ground, like that understanding where you can communicate to get that out of the relationship is like it's a journey. I feel like.
do also feel like in the future marriage will be more of like a rare occurrence, because I feel like only the best relationships, like the most fluid, being able to communicate, will be able to sustain that. Everyone else, I feel like, is gonna be doing their own thing, like independent, maybe together for a couple of years and like on and off kind of thing.
I was gonna say, like, I feel like a lot of people are becoming obsessed with the idea of like, I want to be alone. Like, I don't need anybody
I've seen that
because
a
of
lot.
these trust issues, because of
Yeah.
like the lack of communication, or like they've been cheated on this one time, or like because of social media, they see their partner, what they're doing behind their back and stuff like that. So like, if that mentality of like, oh, I don't need anybody, then the future generations are screwed. Like, there's not gonna be marriage.
That's exactly how I feel. I feel like in the future it's just gonna be more just lonely people in general. I mean, I think everyone's gonna maybe get into like a 3 to 5 year like max long relationship, and it may not work out in the end.
Like move in together,
yeah.
like
Like, they'll get there, but then eventually, because of whatever reasons, just society we live in, people just aren't willing to commit and like take L's to try and win in the future.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's true.
Or
But
like
yeah, I think
patience, like working
patience,
on stuff in the relationship and stuff. Yeah.
But I feel like that's not a bad thing if there's less marriages, because I feel like you should only get married if you're really serious. And I feel like a lot of people in the past got married first and then figured it out as they were going along. So I feel like it's not a bad thing that people are focusing more on being independent, and then once you're ready and being able to stand on your own 2 feet, then do that relationship. Because if you get into a relationship before you can stand on your own, you're gonna be leaning on that person until that you can't leave that person. So I feel like it's not a bad thing that that's happening.
I think it's actually a good thing though. Like, I think there's a lot of, like, for example, the good things that came out of like the older ways is the there wasn't any escaping the fact that we need each other. Like being in a relationship, like people were getting married at like 23, 25, 25, and it's like, with that, reality shows you we need like humans need each other. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
We all want to, like you said, be alone, but it's like we at the end of the day need each other. So I think at least back then it showed us that like you can't escape that fact. Nowadays it's like we're trying to escape the fact, but I think time will tell we cannot escape that fact.
I just feel like you would be getting marriages later on in life, not as early as like in our 20s, probably like 30s, or like around that time when we're independent, we have our own jobs, like we're stable in life, and we know who we are, so like we know what we want in life from another person. So it would be better like if we just go in these relationships when we're older.
I have a lot of friends that are older than me, and a lot of friends that have kids that aren't married. And that's not a bad thing. Like, they're doing their thing, and like, kudos to you. But like, I already see like there's not a lot of people getting married. A lot of people are having kids and not.
Because I feel like that became more normalized.
Yeah,
like,
it most definitely
before
is.
you're married, like have kids before you're married. So like the rush to get married isn't there anymore. Like you said, like in our 30s when we have our careers, like we have a house. Because like the prices, like
it's
you know?
expensive.
So
and that's not to say that they didn't want to get married. Like, you know, things don't work out and it sucks, and that's fine. But like, I don't think the want to get married is there as much as it used to be. It's more like, I just want to have a kid.
I feel like that was bigger because I feel like guys, their goal isn't really to get married too much. I don't think it ever really was. I feel like that was more like the girls' dreams, like to get married, have kids, have a family, stuff like that. So do you guys feel like, not even for you guys specifically, but for the general group of girls, do you feel like that's not the goal anymore? It's not the dream anymore? Or do you feel like that's still alive?
I feel like girls still want to get married.
yeah, I think so too.
It's just that, like, I think we realize how serious, I'll speak for myself, I realize how serious marriage is, and just even dating, like, I take it very seriously. Like, it's not something to joke about. Like, again, like, imagine being married to someone for 50 years. That's a long time. Like, that's, like, you can't just pick and choose anybody and be like, yeah, I want to date you, like, you know, the relationship's great, we're gonna get married. Like, no, like, take your time, you know what I mean? But again, like, things get complicated, people have trust issues in this generation, so it's just a lot more difficult, and, you know, the standards are very high.
What do you think? You agree with Trinity?
Yeah, like, I think girls want to get married, but also, like, being more realistic in the fact that it's not going to happen as soon as maybe we would like it to. Also, like, I want to get married, and I surround myself with, like, people that are like-minded, so I just feel like I'm around people that still believe in marriage. But, like, I mean, you see it on social media, too. Like, the big proposals and the huge weddings and the like the honeymoons and stuff like that. Like people still look to that to a certain extent.
I think though in the future, I think also like guys, especially nowadays, have realized that like even back in the day, the marriage was like the only time the marriage was worthwhile for the guy is if he truly wanted that woman.
Yeah.
Point,
But like now it's like other than that, we're realizing like okay, yeah, we may truly want you, but like at that point, what are we getting married for? Like I want you, and that's all that matters. But like so for us, it's not as much of a dream. Also because with marriage, like one thing that marriage was as well. A lot of people haven't. I don't think anyone mentioned this yet, but it was a union of two families. Rather than everyone now is getting like even like divorce rates are going up because everyone's being what's good for me, what's me, independent, selfish, whatever. So it's like when you like a lot. I feel like a lot of people don't really care about what their mom thinks about like what their spouse's parent thinks about them. You know what I mean?
Why should they do it? Why would you get married to someone for your family?
But that's what I'm saying. I think the idea of marriage very much it benefited one, women, and two, like the two families uniting. You know what I mean? Nowadays it's like okay, so people don't really care too much about the families uniting, which is number one. And then two, guys on the opposite side are like this was kind of if anything a L. A lot of men got into marriage and then got divorced and then lost half of their life and had to rebuild. So it's like for us, it doesn't really make any sense, and then for families, it doesn't make any sense. So I feel like marriage is something that I think a lot of women are still hoping for, but I feel like in the end, I don't think it's actually gonna. Marriage rates are still gonna. Like I think marriage rates are gonna go down.
And I feel like that's another benefit of having social media is that the guys can now see this isn't really like made for us, like marriage. Back then, guys really didn't know what was going on. So like, all right, I guess this is cool. This is what I'm supposed to do, but they didn't really know what was gonna come behind it. Was 30 years of you can't talk to nobody else. Like I feel like they would have known that earlier. Well, huh? You can't talk to no one else for 30 years. But
you guys are discrediting it though.
What do you mean?
Like for me, like I want to get married. I want to have that my wife. Like I want to be that super team. Like that's the thing. Like when people are in that marriage that actually work, they're not on social media. They don't care about none of that.
Okay.
Like they're just living their best life with their spouse and their kids. It's like it's not about that anymore when you get married. And that's something that people don't understand. And like for men, like you guys like it's like talked about so many options. Like guys want this and that. Like it's never talked about like how to settle. Like it's not even like settling because like I feel like that has like a bad like connotation to it.
I hear you saying like commit that kind of thing.
So it's like I feel like guys need to talk about that more too because we don't talk about that at all. Like we talk about like being with that girl or this one and that and this. Like it's all about like how many girls. Like you not talk about like just one.
Yeah.